Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, 18 hours daily platform for the Indian micro, small and medium enterprise sector. On this series, it's our endeavor to celebrate entrepreneurship and bring you expert advice from renowned business leaders and help you grow every aspect of your business. You are watching MSME Dialogues. Today I have a very special guest with me. We're being joined by Kiran Murthy, the CEO of AskmeBazaar.com. Thank you so much for speaking with us today, Kiran. You are the first company to essentially launch products and services specifically for the SME and the MSME platform. Give us a rationale really behind that, and what has the experience been like so far convincing SMEs about really the benefits of using technology?
In the recent wave of digitization and with e-commerce taking off in such a big way, the internet and e-commerce we thought was best suited for SMEs to grow their business. And we worked on trying to build a credible or a suitable product line for them to be able to scale their business. Most SMEs today who are building their own business are not traditionally vendors on large retail platforms. So so in terms of supply relationship, they're not suppliers. They're more people who have their own business locally, cater to local customers, and hence are interested in increasing their local footprint and also being able to distribute their products pan-India in terms of reaching new markets. Top end of the ecosystem, where there are specific products which would want further distribution and reaching new markets. We actually have taken a combo approach to try to attack the balance two segments which are larger. There are two streams of offerings that we have. One is the, as I call it, the around me offering, which essentially is a merger or is a combination of payments, so local search, local listings and deals. Which means a customer in his location, when he opens his app, gets to see all the stores or business locations around him, which accept AskmePay as a payment mechanism, can also look at deals pushed by these merchants on their platform. Could be a deal from a second-hand car salesman, could be a milkman, could be a doctor, could be a, a plumber, could be even a small store. Or even a salon or a spa or a restaurant, etc., etc. So we've actually gone beyond the traditional definitions of restaurants and taxis and gone into the local ecosystem completely. So whatever is available around you, you can find those retailers, you can actually go and redeem your deals there, collect loyalty and reward points on all the transactions you do in all these retail outlets.
Fair enough. Like you're saying, you have, of course, been in the business for a very long time now. How's the awareness and how's the buy-in for the use of technology changed as far as SMEs are concerned from the experience that you've had?
So most SMEs are very conscious about technology and the way things are changing around them, especially from their consuming segment perspective. They see their customers using Facebook and WhatsApp and email, etc. all around them. They actually use it to drive better engagement for their own businesses locally. They themselves are reasonably aware customers who are all available or using the platforms to make the buy transactions. They're all typically better to do affluent customers in the local market and hence are very aware. Their eagerness to join the digital ecosystem and build their business online is very high. But there are very few avenues currently available for them to participate. They have tried in the past to build a website of their own. They have tried to do some kind of online marketing, but they have realized fast that these are not exactly what they can manage themselves and are very happy to be on a platform like ours, which helps them manage their whole experience end to end. The key part is to give them the solution or the offering that fits their particular needs and capabilities. And frankly, an SME very clearly understands. It's not a negative for them. It's actually important for them to understand what their current capabilities are and restrict or manage their businesses within those boundaries so as to not stretch themselves in terms of capital or in terms of stock going out of their control. So we very high level of awareness, keen interest, and very reasonable or sensible approach to building their business online. It's not as rash as the way online businesses are currently getting built.
Fair enough. Now, you've essentially pioneered the concept of the next day delivery model, Kiran. Has that been essential for you as far as the business in the SME space is concerned?
From a platform perspective, we are clearly betting that the small retailers in this country are going to scale up and are going to continue to be there. And there is not going to be this one big giant retailer who's going to manage the retail for this country. That is a simple bet that we took because of our own DNA. We are a very small business focused company. That's in our ethos, and that's the only thing we know how to do. We don't know how to build huge warehouses. We don't know how to manage inventory pan-India. We don't know how to ship things pan-India, etc. Most of our businesses are local. Most of our businesses are small. So the best suited solution for them was this whole next day delivery model that we came up with, where we essentially list the best seller with the best deal in the local market, get him local orders, deliver them the next day, and ensure that the money flows back into his bank account in 2 days' time. Which means that the transaction cycle is crunched both for the buyer and the seller. Because of the faster cash rotation cycle, the seller is able to provide better deals, and because we are increasing his current throughput, which he is buying currently and selling through his current retail franchise, which essentially means that the locally top-selling SKUs are already available, and because of our increased volume, we are able to get him better deals. He is able to negotiate better deals for us. He knows which SKUs to stock. He knows how to price them. We do the marketing, we do the delivery, we do the customer care, which are things that he himself cannot manage. So that way, it is a great partnership and has worked very well for us in terms of scaling our business. In our OPEX level also, it's very cost effective because everything is local. There are no huge capital costs involved in this business model. And hence we believe this is a viable model for India in terms of scaling up e-commerce across the country.
Let's talk about government policy, Kiran. In your opinion, how will GST change the face of the business? Will it make a huge difference as far as your own model is concerned?
Actually, our model is beautifully agnostic. We operate inside a city, so we don't cross any borders. The stock is sourced locally and delivered locally. The billing is directly from the merchant onto the consumer. There are no additional octroi, sales tax, VAT, GST implications there. Actually, that's one of the few reasons why we are able to find more merchants who are taking to this model very aggressively, because it's actually regulation neutral, it is fast, and it is local. So nothing goes out of hand in terms of the stock or the cash.
Okay, you've entered the two-wheeler booking segment. What does the future hold in this space for you?
So frankly, once you have the local delivery model cracked, the two-wheelers and automobiles are clearly the next large segment to address. Most two-wheelers today are bought locally and from dealers who are appointed by the company. And we frankly, two-wheeler dealers and automobile dealers were a large segment in our listing side, in our listings business for quite some time. We wanted to build a platform to move them to transactions from listing. And this launch that we've done in Pune right now is essentially that same vision coming true. What we are now promising consumers is not just a listing site where they can find the dealer's name and go and buy from them, but you can actually see the prices offered by the dealers, buy online, maybe even apply for an EMI or a loan facility, get service at your doorstep in terms of documentation, delivery, etc. And even do order spares and replacements which can be delivered and fitted at home. So whether it's buying a bike or getting your tire changed or getting your battery changed, everything can happen at your doorstep. That's the ecosystem that we're building, where our own partner locally manages the execution, and local sellers and dealers provide the required stock and inventory and pricing.
You also entered the fray for food and grocery delivery. How's that panning out?
Same model, and beautiful. I mean, actually, all of these models are built locally. So we've realized that 80% of what we buy is typically available locally. The brands that we buy, the particular SKUs that we buy, the seasonality with which we buy, the local grocer and the local retailer knows exactly what that area wants. And areas change quite drastically. So for a market like, say, Bombay, the consumer base or the consuming base in a Vashi is very different from the consuming base in a Marine Drive or a Dadar or a Panvel or a Matunga. Each of these markets have their own particular brands, have their own particular SKUs, have their own sense of seasonality. The local grocer who works with us on our platform essentially is aware of all of this and is already buying these products and selling through his existing wholesale or retail store. By coming onto our platform, we essentially enable him to reach out to digital consumers and also increase his volume of business so that he can get better negotiating power with the companies he buys from.
All right, time for a very quick break on this episode of MSME Dialogues. Do stay tuned. We'll continue our conversation with Kiran Murthy of AskmeBazaar.com. Welcome back. You're with us on this episode of MSME Dialogues. We're in conversation with Kiran Murthy of AskmeBazaar.com. Several companies that already exist in this space, and I'm talking particularly about the online retail, companies, that model seems to really be struggling. So what really made you look at the space? I know it's not an apples to apples comparison, but was there any concern in terms of the profitability that's available in this model?
Frankly, the margins are thin, but the profitability opportunity is large. Because significant volumes get executed and the capex and the opex required is much lower. So it's actually a much more efficient model. So in India, we typically, large margins are very elusive. Most categories are highly competed. There's high competition. There is a smaller base, hence the ability to retain margins is very low. So the whole chase of higher margins lead to higher profits is a mirage that many have chased and not achieved. We kind of didn't want to go down that path, and frankly it was a compulsion too. We don't have access to that kind of procurement or supply chain or sourcing kind of a model. We went hyper-local and said let's go for very small margins but try to break even operationally with these margins. So the product is the hero in this. So the product and the price is the hero. Consumer comes to buy that. Not for the great model or the great brand that we built. But the volumes are so high that operational efficiencies justify this kind of approach. From a merchant perspective, he's much happier because he wants to expand his footprint locally. He wants to reach out to this elusive digital customer who is going away from him and trying other new models which are coming up. From a regulatory perspective, it is the simplest. So, I mean, it's a win-win-win from whatever we've learned so far.
So, in your opinion, Kiran, will last mile be the model that really survives the kind of challenges that the space seems to be going through right now?
Oh, frankly, for us, the last mile is not just the last mile, right? It's the consumer touch point. All the investments that we've made, whether it's in our distribution system, which is local distributors in each city for NDD, or in our grocery system, which is hubs in every 2 kilometer radius in each city, or now for automobiles, where we are again going, putting a local automobile agent for us who will manage the end-to-end in each city. These investments are consumer-facing, consumer touchpoint, and are key to consumer experience overall. We don't have great sourcing strengths or great warehousing strengths, so we've focused only on this. It's actually a very key part of our strategy to build all our capability on the customer-facing side.
Let's talk about another business segment that you've entered of late. That's the online medicine business. In terms of a revenue contribution, how large is that going to become for you going forward?
Pharma goes into the grocery basket, so it will be a similar. It will operate from the same hub, which we've already set up for groceries. Pharma typically is much higher margin than a typical kirana basket. Where most FMCG companies or FMCG products have lesser margins compared to the commodities and consumables that are there. And typically, simple grains like rice, atta, chawal, dal, chini, etc. are much lower margins. Compared to all of this, the medicines trade is much higher margin, but is also a little more trickier because it is prescription based, etc., etc. So we are figuring out that model. We have launched it and we are scaling it up in a very cautious way and hope to see that contributing significantly to our profitability. Now, you need to understand the beauty of these models is that the infrastructure is common, but the margins or the revenue stream is incremental. In that sense, all these help us achieve our break-even faster and actually give us much better scale efficiencies.
Let's take a slightly, big picture view at this point, Kiran. What advice do you have for technology or online MSMEs which are looking at expansion?
I mean, most MSMEs are very have experienced in their own business and have been doing this for a long time. So advising them would be a little, little out of the way. But anyway, they have to be careful in choosing the model that they want to. While there are enough online opportunities available, choosing the right model that fits your particular need, leverages your existing capability and adds the incremental layers that are difficult for you to achieve by yourself is what they should look for. There are enough easy fly-by-night kind of operators who promise you websites, great Google ranking, faster transactions, instant riches, etc. Most of them are sensible enough and know that this is all not something to be trusted. But just in case some of them are still doing it, that's something that they should avoid.
What about advice in terms of raising funds? What should an MSME really keep in mind when they're looking at raising funds?
So they're very amazed by this current ecosystem and they want to understand how this works, how they can also raise funds. But most of them don't need it, and most of them have. We have created a business called AskmeFin, which has picked up quite well over the last 4 months. The insight here is simple. Most businesses have an aspiration for growth, but struggle to support it with capital investments when required. The reason is they have not, the incremental volumes that they see from the digital partnering with us that they do is not something that they've thought through, and hence the capital, their working capital or even the capital investment in terms of manufacturing or storage goes up incrementally. The unfelt or whatever unarticulated need for additional short-term financing is something which has come through again and again and again. And for the last 4 months, we've been building a series of products which essentially give them that bridge financing or that short-term debt kind of financing for them to be able to build their revenue streams. Typically 3 to 10 lakh kind of ticket size for anywhere between 45 to 90 days. So short term, short value, but frequent usage and quick repayment. So in that sense, this particular model in terms of funding has worked for them too. Equity, most of the SMEs who work with us are not in that equity mode, but there are a few partners whom we have who are also interested in funding in lieu of equity. So we have not actually done an equity transaction yet on AskmeFin, but debt has been a large chunk of our portfolio.
So in terms of your own fundraising journey, where are you right now? Any rounds that you're looking at closing out that you can comment on?
We are continuously looking for additional investors and investment, more from building the ecosystem. So this is going to be a big fight, right? It's not an easy ecosystem to build and scale up a business. So we are looking for more, more hands on the table. We're looking for good support. We're looking for investors who have a strategic interest in this market. There is certainly FDI in e-commerce is fully allowed. People have to enter. There are enough people waiting to enter rather, and we believe we have a good model which makes sense and can be scaled. So looking continuously.
Okay, at a time, when several large players in the online space are facing concerns about valuations, what advice would you have for MSMEs when it comes to protecting their own valuations?
So most of them, like I said, are not in the equity raise game, right? So most MSMEs today are in a debt kind of investment mode, which frankly is not is driven by valuations, but is more about collectability. So debt as a capital raising method depends on how much you can repay or how simple the repayment process is rather than on the valuation side. So most of them seem to be rather insulated from it. Very few opportunities exist for them today to raise capital. There are a few SME indexes being launched by some of the larger banks. So those are possible for them, or the larger share markets. So the BSE apparently has an SME index which they are looking to promote, etc., etc. But very few valuation-based equity options available currently for MSMEs to raise. Unless you're talking about startups, which are again, what do you call it, idea-based or risk capital, which is a very different ballgame altogether.
Fair enough. Last couple of questions. What advice do you have then in terms of how to use technology and online platforms when it comes to marketing and brand promotion?
Most of us, I mean, at least whatever we've spent, we've tried to work on building our platform as the brand, and we've had little luxury to go beyond and build sub-brands within the platform. So Ask Me as a singular brand is all that we've invested in. So I don't know if I'm the right person to advise people on how to build brands online, except for Ask Me, of course, which went in where we've invested all our. So since we are an SME platform, we don't or we haven't seen so far a need to build smaller brands. Some brand tie-ups have happened in the past, and we have worked on building smaller SME brands, especially in the segments of LED lights and TV and appliances. Small, what do you call it, not very encouraging in terms of results. Online is more a transaction enablement platform from whatever we understand. It's not easy to build a pure brand online, and most of our SMEs are not looking for that. They're looking more for business growth rather than brand creation.
Last question is really, how one goes about hiring the right talent in, your kind of business, and how one really manages to retain that kind of talent.
Luckily for us, when we started in 2012, the market was already in hyper mode on e-commerce. So getting people interested was not so difficult. But selection took a lot of time because you had to, the whole process of finding the right fit, understanding candidate aspirations, figuring out whether you will be able to even fulfill those so as to be able to give them a bigger offering rather than just a job. That took a lot of time and a lot of my personal time as well. I must have, at the peak of it, averaged 12 to 18 interviews a week for almost 9 to 12 months. So that was very grueling during that period. Luckily for us, retention has not been such a great problem, while I'm worried because my HR team tells me there is an 18-month cycle. We're going to be hitting that 18-month cycle very soon. So we'll have to see how things go after that.
Well, that's all we have on this episode of Leaders of Tomorrow, MSME Dialogues. Do remember, if you want to write into us, you need expert advice for any aspect of your business, do feel free to write to us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can also reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT or call us on the number on your screen below. Thanks for watching.